The book, the next one. The author, none other than Ken Reid, my good buddy, author of what, 6, 7 books now, Sportsnet anchor, one of my good friends, awesome dad, awesome friend, and hockey card collector and ambassador for the hockey culture and sports culture worldwide. Ken, how the hell are you doing?
I'm great, TR, representing your old man again.
Mm,
You got the
Minnesota Fighting Saints. You always
Minnesota
have
Fighting
been.
Saints. Look at this, buddy. Just for senior, 18 and Ryan on the back, pal.
No way. Where did you get that?
This is a company called something Retros or something. It's awesome. Like, it's not a fake either. They stitch her up right. It goes very nicely with my Terry Ryan, Minnesota Fighting Saints autographed WHA puck that your dad gave me the last time I was in the basement. 6 SHG 7273.
Yeah, nice. That's great. I love those.
I
Those
love your
little.
dad. Love you too, buddy. That's I got this for I think Royal Retros. That's what it's called. Royal Retros. I expect a check in the mail. So great WHA sweaters.
They are deadly. So tell us now. And by the way, I said 6, 7. I've got them all. How many books now? 6, 7?
8.
8. Okay,
8.
and this is the 8th. You're like
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino. You're only going to do 9 or 10 movies, and then so here we are. We're on the precipice of another great book of anecdotes, I assume. How
Yes.
did you approach this one? For those that don't know, there's hockey card stories. There's one night only stories about the hockey culture. A lot of them are anecdotes about certain players or certain cards or whatever, but they all kind of come together and flow with the hockey fan and the hockey player. So what's this new one about?
Well, like you said, TR, you and I are storytellers. These are stories. This isn't groundbreaking news. This is you're having a coffee right now. It's sitting around having a coffee, having a beer. You want to ever sit down with the scout and just pick his brain, not necessarily about, how do I go about evaluating this player? Just tell me some stories. Tell me about your life on the road. Tell me who you are. Tell me who you got into this business. And of course, there's stories about how you discovered this player or that player. But I talked to about 15, 16 scouts, and I tell you, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. These are some really interesting people. Amazing how they came to certain points in their careers. You've heard the story, 38 years old, but tragically hip.
Yeah.
12 men broke loose in 73. One of the scouts in the book told me it was 15. One of the guys came back because it was the bug, so it's actually 14. And the scout knows this because he was the psychologist at Millhaven Maximum during that breakout. So,
Whoa.
and then yeah.
I didn't think this was going there. I honestly thought, Ken, that the next one, I thought you were going player to player, like the childhood prodigies, like the Crosbys or the McDavids.
The Terry
I didn't know if you
Ryans.
were going there or with players that were rated that way that didn't pan out, but I thought it was players. Like, so you came at it from a scout's point of view.
Yeah, I wanted to tell the stories of these guys and girls and who they
Wow.
were, and it was amazing. I never thought. I wanted to know how the Halifax Mooseheads has this pipeline to Europe, right? They always get these great Euros. And Cam Russell, who you fought when you had your skates untied,
Yeah.
told me you have to talk to Paul Henry. Paul Henry is the man behind all this. And
Okay.
Paul, I call him the Dos Equis man of scouts. He's kind of like your dad. He's full of amazing stories. And Paul was a psychologist at Millhaven Max when these guys broke out. And he went from that to just fantastic hockey scout. And
What?
he kind of
I
shows
don't
you
see
that.
the correspondence, but I guess I don't see how one leads into the other. But I guess
Yeah.
I'll let the book explain that. Yeah.
Right. And it does. It's just, and Paul kind of shows you scouting isn't just how good is this guy on the ice. It's who is this guy? What makes him tick, and amazing. And his stories are incredible. He's the kind of guy that goes on a scouting trip to Europe. He doesn't take a suitcase. He packs a Warrior bag full of luggage and lugs it around,
Yeah.
as hockey as you can get. There's a guy who stumbled upon scouting. He started helping out with Cornell. He worked his way all the way up to scouting for the Winnipeg Jets. His name's Bill Heffernan. I call him the singing scout. He's got his guitar. He's probably going to play at my book launch. He wrote a song about being stuck in a car on the 401 going from a Toronto Marlies game to a OHL game in Belleville, and he's sitting beside Glenn Hall in the back seat the whole time. It's crazy where the stories lead us. So if you're looking for a scientific antidote or how to evaluate the next player, this isn't the book for you. If you're looking on how guys discovered a fella and how they fell into scouting and what they've seen along the road, this book's for you. So I think it goes well with how you and I look at the game, TR, because we're story guys. You're a folklore guy. This is folklore.
Yeah, and I often say, like, I got into folklore because I fluked into it, because when I got into university, I loved the storytelling aspect, and I was just looking for credits, like let's gather up some here. And the more I kind of delved into that, I realized, okay, when I thought of the word folklore, I don't know, something in me, I thought like just so far into the past and these things that are buried in artifacts, and folklore could be anything. But I ended up gravitating towards the storytelling part of it. So how did you? And again, yeah, we are. I mean, I think that's why we both have an affinity for hockey cards. You got seriously into it, but I mean, I collected my whole life. Cards in general, baseball too. Yeah. But I think that's kind of part of it. The folklore of it is the card. The player's the player, but there's so many things, so many stories just from collecting. They might not even be about the player. But how did you So how did you start? The idea must have come from somewhere. And then what was your first play to call the biggest scout that you would have known or would have been connected with, and gone from there?
So this wasn't my idea. This was Kevin Hansen's idea. He was the head guy at Simon and Schuster, and he's the guy that helped me get signed to write Hometown Hockey Heroes. Okay. And so we had a meeting. What's your next project? I thought I'd like to do a second Hometown Hockey Heroes. He said, I've always thought that hockey scouts must just have a ton of awesome stories. And I go, yeah, I bet they would. So he said, well, why don't you do that? And so, okay, I'll go about it. He said, you must know a ton of hockey scouts. I said, I know a few. But so I called some of the guys I know, and then they say, well, you got to talk to this guy. This guy's a really good storyteller. And then they'll say, you have to talk to this guy. So it kind of went about like that. One guy led me to another. I didn't want to be, who discovered Connor McDavid, because you and I can discover Connor McDavid. It doesn't take a scout's brain to go, oh, that guy's really good. Yeah. What I discovered is it takes a scout's brain to go, who out on that ice would make a good third liner in the National Hockey League, right? Just because a kid doesn't score 60 goals in major junior doesn't mean they can't play in the National Hockey League. Totally. So that's one thing I really enjoyed about this book, was the stories of how guys found that third liner. And a lot of scouts, I find, really take pride in finding that third line guy, that fourth line guy, that gem of a.
I would. If I was a scout, that's where I would take pride in. Yeah. Yeah. Because you got to have you got to know who's going to, in that role. The other thing, the further you go up, a lot comes into it with work ethic and diet, and how much is this person going to buy into a system that a coach is it coachable? Is he or she coachable? All kinds of things, because the absolute blue chippers, they get so much leeway in all those other areas that they could probably get there either way, and then we'll get work ethic. But you can't get up there if you're a little bit above average. There's all kinds of other players out there that are as good as you. Shouldn't say that, but right. There are players that get there and then they really blossom. I don't know. Mike Fisher would be one. I know he was always a great player, but when he got to the NHL, from what I hear and at least what I saw, that's a guy who really, really improved his two-way game. Right. Right. And there are all kinds of those players, but yeah, some scout had to set them on that path, because 2 or 3 years before, there were all kinds of players that probably, given the position, could have made it, if their luck or their path was any easier whatsoever. Well, so
that's just it. Like, that's you just nailed it, because in this book there's like, how do you I stumbled on a scout who found Antoine Roussel. So how do you find Antoine Roussel? Antoine Roussel was not drafted into the Quebec League. He was not drafted in the National Hockey League. He plays for Chicoutimi as an overager. He's calling, begging for tryouts. He gets a try with Vancouver. They assign him to the Chicago Wolves. He's a healthy scratch in the American League. How do you find that guy? And ultimately, Dallas is looking for someone who's just going to fit in on their farm team. Their farm team needs a little grit. Well, this guy shows so much grit, he ends up playing over 600 games in the NHL. So I talked to Antoine Roussel. I talked to the scout who discovered him. How did this happen? And Antoine is telling me, I was at the point where I was calling coaches begging for a tryout in the American League. But yet he blossoms into this 600-plus game NHL guy, because he fills a role that a team needed. And Here's a name I know you'll know, Rick Knickel.
Yeah,
He's 31 years old, playing for the San Diego Gulls. He ends up playing in
remember
the
that.
NHL. He becomes a scout with Nashville. He's helping out with his old junior team in Brandon, and there's this kid on the ice at a Bantam camp crushing everybody. He's like, "Who's that guy?" "Oh, he's a kid from Rankin Inlet." "What?" "It's Jordan Tutu."
Yeah.
Right? And Tutu comes back to the bench. He's like, "Can we fight at this camp?" "I guess so, kid." Goes out and puts a pounding on a guy. And Rick, as scouts do, fall in love with a player. But I learned from this, every scout is kind of falling in love with a guy off the first bat. But you got to see him 6 times. All scouts preach. You have to see the guy 6 times.
Wow,
And
really? I never ever heard that before. Six
six
times
times.
specifically. I would have thought 3. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
No, the guys are all about 6 times, and the guys and girls in the book are all about putting in the work. Like, it's not, you can't just show up once and and fall in love with a guy. A lot of scouts have been burned. They'll tell me, like, you fall in love with a guy too quickly. There's stories of that in here, but it's all about seeing him 6 times, which I really liked.
Wild. You go through
Yeah,
the batting order 3 times, take the pitcher out, and when it comes to scouting, no less than 6. This is wild how the mind works. And
yeah, and I
go
know
ahead.
you'll like to. There's old school in here, right? I'm talking to Les Binkley. He was an early scout for Pittsburgh, played in the Eastern League.
Like when you
Maybe,
say early scout for Pittsburgh, how
yeah,
early?
like 70s, scouting for Pittsburgh in the
Because
70s,
the draft only came in in the early 70s, right? My
late
dad
60s.
was in the NHL draft. I don't think there was many before him.
Yeah, late 60s. So,
Late 60s. Okay.
yeah, and there's a
What would
scout
happen
here.
then? You just sign players.
Yeah, well, you signed a C form, right? They could get you to sign as young as 12 years old. You sign for $100 and they basically own you for the rest of your life,
Like
which was
Fabio and
wild.
Dennis Potvin. I must have been more, but I know that because I've
Well,
read the
then he
book.
was
You might even
drafted.
mention in one of your books.
Right. But if you go back to Alex Faulkner, like, Alex would have signed a C form, guaranteed.
Okay.
Um, but there's a guy in this book, he started out as a WHA referee, right? And he ends up becoming a scout. He probably penalized somebody your dad played against, and your dad probably scored a shorty. Tell your dad the name Wayne Mundy. So
Wayne Mundy.
Wayne was one of the first guys I called for this book. And this is, again, Wayne is an epic storyteller, and Wayne's a good family friend. He's always been a Reid family friend. And I've always wondered why I had this love for the WHA, a league I can't remember. And it comes from Wayne Mundy, because Wayne
Ah,
would come down, we'd visit, he'd tell stories of reffing. And I mean,
he's from Pictou?
he's from Montreal.
He's from Montreal. How is
Yeah.
he a family friend? Not that your family doesn't travel. I'm just curious.
Well, Mom lived in Montreal for a couple of years when she was 21. Her best friend, Maureen, was the head usherette at the Montreal
My
Forum.
God. It just all comes together. Of course, this is a side story that I've never
Yeah.
heard. Okay.
She was the head usherette at the Montreal Forum. She dates and marries Wayne Mundy. Wayne goes on to referee in the WHA. Gordie Howe tells him, guys like you, Mundy, are going to kill this league, when he penalizes Gordie one night. He thinks, oh my God. And he thinks he's going to be merged into the NHL as a ref, and it doesn't happen. He goes into sales and stuff in the Montreal area, always keeps an eye on the game, observe the game in a unique way, right? From a referee's perspective.
Yeah.
He'd always maintained a friendship with Larry Plow, who played his junior hockey in Montreal, goes on to work for the Hartford Whalers, goes on to work for the St. Louis Blues. Pro scouting comes about. Wayne, want to keep an eye on some kids for us? Sure. He becomes a scout with the St. Louis Blues. He gets a Stanley Cup ring. He gets a Memorial Cup ring working with St. John. It's amazing where the game has taken these guys.
Yeah.
And I love the old school stories in here. One of the scouts is so old that when he was drafted by the Washington Capitals, his mom told him, you have a call from General McNabb in Washington. He was afraid to call him back because he thought he was drafted into the Vietnam War. So, like on my Arch, it was 77 and you're Canadian. You can't really get drafted into the Vietnam War. And he's like, I wasn't really up on current events.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, you know how our stories go, TR, you and I. We'll start talking about scouting, but it'll lead us to a fight in Port Huron, right? It ends us to an incident in Port Huron that ends up in the pages of Sports Illustrated. Or I talked to Jeff Toohey who scouted for Peterborough Pete's.
Yeah.
And it ends up being about Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. So
yeah, he was a big hockey fan, isn't he?
His brother, Zach Burke.
Yeah, I remember that. The goalie.
Yeah, so his brother was a goalie in the Memorial Cup,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
Sebastian came and sang the anthem. So, yeah, it takes us to a lot of places, which was a lot of fun.
Where are most scouts from in the book? Are they Canadian or American, Atlantic Canadian? I mean,
Yeah, they're from all over. Let me see. I'll just quickly go down. Jerry McNamara, he's a Toronto area guy. So Jerry tells me this is a great story. Uh, after the 72 series, the Leafs said, hey, they hire him as kind of a roaming scout, right? These
Yeah.
are the days when teams have 2 or 3 scouts. And the Leafs are kind of thinking, okay, maybe there's some talent in Europe. Look what these Soviets did. He goes to Sweden to scout. He's the only scout in Sweden. The world is his. He goes to a game. He watches the game. He's whatever. So he sees another game a couple towns over. He goes to this game. He's watching this guy. He's like, whoa. He watches this guy and he's like, this guy's awesome. He goes in after it's Boreas Salming.
Oh my Jesus. He was watching a fucking future absolute legend go out there and shred in fucking northern Sweden. This is so he knew right off the bat then. It would be like us seeing, I'm guessing, it's Boreas Salming. You know, you mentioned McDavid Crosby.
Yeah.
Yes, over here it's all been done, but he's over there in a new land. It's like he's just discovered this land of opportunity, and this comes out, one of the best defensemen of all time.
Right.
And he's watching this guy.
He saw the blue chip when no one else was there. So he didn't
when
have
no
to
one else even had an opportunity to see it. Wow, that's unbelievable. Like,
correct.
Well, you know what? It's believable. It's unbelievable it took so long.
Correct. To go there and discover them. So then you got Brad Davis, a Saskatchewan guy. His dad is the legendary Lorne Davis, who was a great hockey scout. And Brad basically grows up at his kitchen table in Saskatchewan. When other scouts come through Saskatchewan, they come to the Davis house to eat. And Brad just sits there and listens. He ends up being a player. He screws his back up, becomes a ref.
I remember that. I was going to say ref. Yeah. In the Western League too.
In the dub. Yes. In your era.
I remember him. Yeah. I knew that.
He had the blonde mullet, right? They called him Mr. Perfect.
As soon as you said Brad Davis, my mind went all the way back there. And I remember more than anything. And he used to do games often with the guy Mike Hasenfratz. I think Mike passed away recently, but I had a decent relationship with those guys back then, and Brad was a real great fella. I haven't seen him since, but yeah, that's great wild. That as soon as you said it, I was like, man, that name is somewhere in my head. I remember him distinctly.
So his story starts kind of at his dad's table, leads him to become a ref, ultimately a scout, and he's supposed to be going to Europe back and forth a few times a year. Lockout year, teams are cutting down their budgets. Well, I guess I'll go look at Junior A, right? It's local, and there's not going to be anybody there. Finds Andrew Cogliano.
Right? Oh, yeah.
So, boom. Cogliano's a great pick at Brad's. And, you got a guy like James Boyd. He's the GM of the Ottawa 67s. He leads Canada to those back-to-back World Juniors, the COVID World Juniors, the 2 tournaments within 3-4 months. So he tells me how he puts that team together. So we get into the technical side of the hockey there. Great. There's another scout, Ken Fox. Answers an ad that was placed in the Hockey News. He was playing senior hockey in Saskatchewan. Answers an ad placed in the Hockey News. Red Deer Rebels looking for a scout. Boom. He ends up scouting in the dub for, 30 years.
Wow. What's his name?
Ken Fox.
Wow.
He recommended that Red Deer draft Colby. He discovered your buddy Aaron Asham. Right?
I see. I knew I'd heard the name, and because he wouldn't have scouted me, but it just would have been put around because when I got traded to Red Deer, I was already in Montreal and established. But I knew I'd heard the name. That's where I'd heard it. Wow.
Yeah. Got to have a couple Maritimers.
Ash is one of those guys that needed a bit of scouting. Yeah, because he
totally. Ash was playing AA.
Yeah, I think if a great hockey mind, even a decent hockey mind, watched Aaron back then, they would have. But he just wasn't getting a lot of eyes on him. Yeah. And Ash was like more. He was really rough around the edges. Meaning you might go see him play, and he gets a 5-minute major in the first period and you don't see the rest of it, which is great in the dub, not in bantam. Right, I hear these stories right before I met Aaron, how he was a little bit off the wall, and I remember him making Red Deer when he was 16, and largely because they didn't want to send him back, and they didn't know, they'd rather have eyes on him, kind of thing. But yeah,
Well,
yeah.
how do you scout a guy from Double A, right? Because
Yes, that's that exactly. Sorry, I cut you off. That's the hardest, right? Guys in Double A. Why? You just go to the Triple A. No, this guy might be good, or might even get him from Single A. In Darcy Tucker, Ndiang, Alberta.
Yep. Yeah.
Ndiang, a little guy who could barely skate, but his hockey knowledge unbelievable.
So that's what I love. That scouts eye can go, okay, he's playing Double A, but obviously, like maybe he'll go to Triple A and he'll stink. But they see something. Got to have some PEI content in there. So I got who do I got? I got Jeff Toohey, who started with Grant Saunier started with Summerside, worked his way up.
Yep.
PWHL. I talked to Gina Kingsbury about how she puts a team together, right? They had 3 weeks to make their team in the PWHL. She's basically scouting the whole thing. How does she do that?
That was
yeah. So I got Western. I got mostly Canadians, old school. Just American was a cool story. Rod Braceful, they call him Hot Rod. This is a guy grows up in Detroit, plays AAA midget there, bounces around Junior A, ends up playing D3 at New England College, has a lingering injury. He can't play. Assistant coach says, why don't you just sit around and help? Okay. Helps out, and it leads him on this incredible hockey journey. And right now he's basically the head scout at USA Hockey. He puts together the World Junior teams. He's worked in the NHL as well. And just an awesome story. And it all starts because he says, you know what, I guess I'll hang around New England College and instead of go home and just go to local school and move on with my life. So life takes these guys to weird places.
That is extremely interesting. And I was going to ask when you said guys and girls. So you've interviewed, I assume, a female scout that scouts for the PWHL?
Yeah, Gina Kingsbury. She put together the Toronto team. And what I learned from Gina, and you'll know this, and it's so important, it's trust, right? So she has 3 weeks to put a team together.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So who are you going to take? You're going to take who you know and who you trust.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you've got 3 weeks. I can't even fathom what that's hard for a player to get ready, let alone a scout to put all the players in place to get ready.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting conversation. And they were a team that was so great in the regular season. They lose their top player in the playoffs. It all goes away. So how does she take those players she trusts in the first season and then build it into an organization over the next 4 or 5? So we get a little technical there. But there's technical for people who want technical. But you know me, I know you. We're hockey romantics. It gets pretty romantic too, right? Like, how do you go from an assault in Port Huron in the International League to one of the first pro scouts in the game? Like that kind of stuff.
That's the romance, I've often said, if you want to put it that way, I like putting it that way, between fan and sport. There's so much that goes into it. That's why, again, on the eve of the Jays in Game 7, I know I can hear you through my TV sometimes. Like we're like, just be, okay. I know what the analytics say. But that, this is going to be a story. And sometimes, like Scherzer the other night, and I love.
Yep.
I mean that he stayed in and he got the job done. But that is now there might have been a bit of intimidation on Scherzer's part, but still he felt it. He's like, I'm Max Scherzer. I just give me this. Just give me this. He was so confident. I love to see that. But so was everybody. So were you. So were me and Max Scherzer. I'm not putting down Schneider. It's tough. Every single game now is scrutinized. And I get that the whole game has gone analytic. I understand that. You could make a point. It was always data kept. But these stories that you're saying, often the more we delve into the future here, or I guess the present, less and less of those kind of anecdotes, because people don't take as many chances that could come to being a scout or mid-game, but people don't take as many chances, so there isn't as much romance, right?
They don't take chances because if they can figure out an equation and it doesn't work, well, it just didn't work. But if you go with your gut and it doesn't work, you're a fool. But
and to me, that's the whole, any captain, any GM, any coach these days, to me, it's just separating, figure out how to tread that line between analytics and gut feeling, because don't tell me that the gut isn't part of it. Every year in the hockey playoffs, they trade for guys. The trade deadline is littered, if you just take hockey, with people that you said trust, I trust you to work your nuts off. I trust you to. It's usually that rather than take a chance on someone who had 30 goals 4 years ago.
Correct. Like if you look at that Jays decision, up until game 5, Schneider had managed it old school. And then somebody, I guarantee you, from the analytics department, they had somebody in their brain who came up with this plan. Let's reverse them. And Brendan Little, who I fault zero, he was put in that position.
I know, man. I felt for him talking after the game. You're like,
fuck. I felt for the kid. And
because there's times, Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I love what Shoresy did, and this book is about that. It's about gut. And listen, if you're like, oh, Ken, why didn't you interview any analytics guys? Because it's my book, okay? And I wanted stories. As a sports fan, I think I said this about the Jays the other night. As a fan, I don't care if it's hockey or baseball or whatever. And in baseball, it's just so obvious, right? In hockey, it's not obvious if you're leaning towards that decision. In baseball, it's very obvious.
Very.
But as a fan, you give your heart to a team. You put your heart in these players. And at a crucial time, instead of making a decision with a brain and their heart for humanity, if you make a decision based on an Excel spreadsheet, that's the biggest downer there is.
The biggest downer.
We're emotionally invested. No emotion goes into a decision to go, well, it says here on this data spreadsheet we have. There's no romance in that. And if that makes me old and out of touch, that's cool. People in the book talk about, there's analytics for this and there's analytics for that. But most of the scouts I talk to, they're old school. They're old school because they can talk now. A lot of them are out of the game now, right? So they're free to talk. They're old school because that's what got them there. And am I really going to get a good story out of a guy telling me how a spreadsheet works? I mean, the genius of the movie Moneyball, when you watch the story and read the book and watch the movie, is it showed the humanity of it all. It humanized it, right?
Completely. And they were in a completely different set of circumstances where there was a gun to their head to keep the franchise going.
Correct.
And exactly the players that they're going out and getting. Sorry to cut you off. Finish your thought, and then I'm going to jump in.
Oh, spoiler to Moneyball. They didn't win. There, that's the spoiler. They didn't win. And they say, well, the Red Sox based it upon this, and they won. But you know what? I get what Oakland was doing. There's a time and a place for it. And you can say, over the course of a season, this will happen, this will happen, and this will happen. Well, we know that. Over the course of a hockey season, Austin Matthews is probably going to score between 40 and 50 goals, right? Over the course of a season. But when it's on the line, can he do it? He's probably your best bet, but can he do it? Over the course of the season, Sidney Crosby is going to get you probably 85 to 105 points. But if there's a do or die matchup, I don't care if somebody else has won 53% of their draws and Sid's only at 47. I'm putting Sid out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because he's got a history of rising to the occasion. Doesn't always have to be the goal being scored. Look at the back checking. Look at it, and to even Crosby's one thing. Say the other night when Easton Cowan took one in front of the net and he got this is a guy young in his career. He knows he's got to go out there and work hard. He's used to just doing what he wants on the ice. He's in a bit of but he took that and he kept going. Now, when I see a player with blood on their face, I know that they're out there to prove a point. He knows this. He's on stage now. You're in the zone. He's still playing well. And I think he did play a lot the rest of the game. I just mean in little things like that, sometimes to me defy the analytics. No one looks at when players are cut on the face, do they? And I'm not saying I'm looking for that, but when someone goes out and makes a big, say a shot block, and they're a little bit hurt, but they can play, they're probably going to play better. They're into a zone now. They've already really helped the team. You're watching a pitcher, same shit. Like maybe his velocity's off but you know that he's going to go out and throw a splitter, or so he's going to figure it out because he's a vet. And now you start going with the heart. Who do I trust, right? And trusting. Go, yeah.
Let's say you're a pro scout and you're at the Leafs game the other night, and Anthony Stolarz gets run over.
Yeah.
And Anthony Stolarz has to get up and defend himself. And the rep on the Leafs is, well, they're pretty talented, but they're pretty soft. Yeah. And you saw their pitiful reaction to Anthony Stolarz getting run over. You don't There's everything you need to know right there. That's everything I need to know about the 5 guys on the ice with Stolarz.
Don't need to see any analytics. Don't need to
Nope.
see whatever. No one. And if someone had jumped in, then okay, there you go. Again,
There
it's
you
going to
go.
be. But I know now that motherfucker cares. It's game 3 or game 4 or whatever it is.
I can
and
go to
he's out
war
there,
with him
and
in
that
June.
can't happen.
I can go to war with him in May. I can go to war with him in June. Do that to the Florida Panthers. See how you get.
I know. That's what I've often said, man. They defy analytics.
They do. I see Brad Marchand in a penalty box ripping a guy's helmet apart. I love it because I know he's got passion. And now people might say, that's unsportsmanlike. He's a jerk. Well, it's passion. He's doing that. The old mind games. Twist them,
I'll tell you, as a parent, did I send you when a couple
Penny Lane?
Last when Penny Lane ran the goalie? So I did take her aside. I'm like, geez, that's late. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, she was at the National Soccer Championships, and that team ended up winning it. It was Hamilton who won Ontario, and they were beat the net down. It was 1-0. We really nearly beat them, and for Mount Pearl, it's a big deal. So Hamilton scored a late one, right? Because we were pressing. We had everybody up on a corner kick. Everybody was up, and so they just went down and basically put it in the empty net. So it was a great effort, but there was it was in extra time already. But there's a few minutes left, injury time. And the ball came down to the goalie and Penny Lane took a couple of extra strides, boom, and knocked her over like the epitome of running the goalie. And she came off after, and she was really flustered. I knew she felt bad. I mean, it's great to go out there and work hard, but this was like running. She should have gotten a red card and possibly a game. I'm telling you, I'm her dad. But she came over afterwards, and she was like this. I don't know. They were playing me fucking hard. I'm like, okay, relax. Now, it's not a great thing, but it's much better that you did that than just react, not giving a shit, and saying, hey, when do we get Starbucks after the game or whatever? And I know some people wouldn't. I wouldn't knock you for not caring, like in that situation, and definitely not hitting the goalie. But if you go out and do that, I'd rather, what's the word, the phrase? I'd rather try to get a wild horse back into a barn than try to kick a horse out that doesn't want to leave in the first place.
So you got the passion. You got
Naz
the
and
passion.
Kadri, I'll take him. I know it might hurt me at some point, but if Kadri doesn't have that in him, he's not Kadri.
Yes, exactly. And that comes through in this book. There's a lot of scouts in here. It's like, I saw that fight and I knew. I saw that hit and I knew. I saw that reaction, that goal, and I knew. Right?
Which is anti-analytic.
Yes. It's
really, they're saying like, okay, once I saw this, I can read this. I know he's gonna. I saw this.
Right. I know this. But then he showed me that, and I knew he had it. Like, you can't teach passion. That's one thing I learned from doing this book. There's a lot of things that were I don't know, affirmed for me. But I have a buddy who's he's an analytics guy, and he made a great argument to me, and I actually kind of bought into it. And I said, you can't measure hard. He goes, well, what about puck battles? If a guy wins 80% of his puck battles, I said, good point. That's a point made. But there's like with Penny Lane, and like you want to see that. You don't want to see it, but you want to see it. So you're right. So if she can maintain that passion, that's great. That'll lead her to great places in life.
Yes, harness the energy the right way.
Harness the energy, and a lot of, and that's sport, right? You don't want to. You just want to walk the edge, right? Yeah. You want to Brad Marchand it, want it on the tightrope, right? You want a Tom Wilson. Was that hit on Hedl late, or was it? Well, he's not suspended.
No, he's not suspended. It's questionable, but I tell you this: the next time that happens,
thank you.
He's gonna have his head down, coming through the middle.
Thank you. And if you're the Leafs and you're sitting there and you're watching a guy go at your goalie, guess what's going to happen the next time there's a loose puck there? They're going to go right in. And someone says,
I'd love to be there. To me, that's a free spot on the roster.
Oh my, it's game.
I'd love to be there. Just all of those guys that they're talking about. Should we put Kempf in? Should we put, this guy, that guy? Is Cowan going to make it? And what about Robertson? I'm saying, fuck me. If I'm there, I am going out and I'm either running their goalie the next shift, or I'm jumping in and I'm going to be a hero and I'm going to have contract and I'm going to be a good teammate. I can't look at all these guys just watching it happen. How the fuck does that happen?
Terry, it's game 6 and the excuse was, well, we were going on the power play. Do you not think that is a gift from the hockey gods to say, establish your culture, send a message, show this league you're not soft anymore? We're going on a power play. Well, lose game 6. Go in the room and, babe, let's go, boys. Let's go. We got each other's back. I don't know.
I'm the opposition,
I can tell you what, the old Minnesota Fighting Saints wouldn't have put up with that, because it's just, I don't know what happened.
You got him, man. You got him. Chris Pronger used to come out and do something like that, or Bird Dog, for lesser known. First period. Now, if you don't respond, now I fucking gotcha. I'll take, you know what I mean? I'll take fucking 2 or 3 power plays in a row. Now, motherfucker. Right? And every time, and you ask every player, they would much rather option fucking B, right? Every time. It's just like hitters. Like, often we're going over into baseball, but sometimes, again, I don't want to make this shit on Schneider. Sometimes he makes calls are coming from somewhere else. He's got to make so many of them. But if you really, really think about it, sometimes when you take a starter out in the 3rd, 4th inning, when they're like, you just think about what the other team's thinking about.
Oh my God, we got
probably going fucking right. Scousman's out of the game.
We got him.
Or you Savage or whoever. So it's the same sort of thing. I often go, think about it from the other team's point of view. For me, oh, good. They're good with the power play. Fucking awesome, because I'm going to dart someone else. And when we get up by 3 and it doesn't mean anything, I'm going to go over to their best player. I'm going to fucking knock them right into the goalpost, and no one's going to give a shit. Sure, they can have a power play. Let them get more analytics. Let them get another power play goal. We'll beat them 6-4, and I'll get 12 penalty minutes, and one of them's going to be fucking putting somebody out for 3 months. And that's what happens. Right?
When I look at the Leafs, too, it's like, you needed the power play. Do you not think your team's going to make the playoffs anyway? Do you not have enough confidence to go, fuck, we can lose this game? So, not to get ahead of myself, I'm working on another project. Okay? So you're going to love this. This is old school. So for this project, I wanted to talk to Steve Payne, who was a great goal scorer with Minnesota, early 80s. Careers ended early because of injuries. The Minnesota North Stars went on this epic run in the 81 playoffs. They made it all the way to the Stanley Cup. Kind of unexpected. Okay? They were the underdogs in every series. So I want to ask him about the playoffs and why did it work. He goes, I'll tell you why the playoffs worked. We beat Boston in the first round. I said, yeah. He goes, we beat Boston in the first round because a couple months earlier, did you ever hear that brawl we had against the Bruins, the most penalized game in NHL history? I said, well, yeah, I was going to get to that. He goes, we had to start with that. That brawl was pre-planned. I said, what? He goes, we went out there. Our coach, Lauren Henning, and our GM, Lou Nanny, said, guys, we're going to go out there today and we're going to drop the gloves. We're going to raise hell. Scoreboard says what the scoreboard says. Bruins have been pushing us around for years, and this shit ends today. 7 seconds off the faceoff, Bobby Smith and Steve Payne, who aren't scrappers, drop the gloves and go. This game becomes an absolute gong show. Over 450 penalty minutes. Minnesota didn't care if they were going to win. He said, we went in after the game. I think we lost 5-1. We were so psyched up because we know we had him. We knew that if we met these guys in the playoffs, they ain't pushing us around.
Yeah.
They beat the Bruins in the first round series. The big bad Bruins. It's like when my buddies beat up the school bully in grade 6. They sent the message, Minnesota will not be pushed around. Toronto had that chance the other night. They did not do it. The pushing will continue. The rep of the soft team will continue because they are a soft team until they do something about it. Sometimes you just got to give them a tug and Sudbury Blueberry Bulldog style go at it.
You got to play Bulldog hockey. I mentioned earlier for those listening, because I always assume that people know Darcy Tucker. So I said he was small and couldn't skate. That was before he got into the Western League. He always looked awkward. But when he got in there, and I've heard people, I mean, I don't think he got drafted in the Western League draft. I think he
was 140 pounds when he showed up at his first WHL camp.
But when he developed into an NHLer, of course, he never had a great style, but if he was there and he was a productive 20-goal scorer who really cared, that defied analytics a lot of the time, because that kid, like if he was anywhere near the goalie there, it's the best case scenario. Whoever's on, was it Marchment, one of those guys? I forget who it was. Best case scenario, he's going to fight you, because if not, you're going to get a cross check right into the teeth, and one of them is going to be gone, and he's going to be justified because you just hit the goalie. Nolan Ryan, here's analytics. In the middle of Nolan Ryan was throwing a perfect game. He's got 2 no-hitters, I think, in his 40s. I just read this, so I could be slightly off, but the point of the story happened. So I just can't remember where or when, but it was one of those no-hitters in his 40s, okay? And in the 5th, he was throwing a perfect game, but in the 5th, he walked a guy, okay? So in the 8th, you'll see him celebrating because he's like 45, and they come out and they get – But in the 8th, he threw it at a fucking guy's head.
Yeah.
Because I already got the walk in. What's the difference if I walk another guy? I still might get a no-hitter, right? Like, I don't know what he's thinking, but in his head, I'm guessing. Because it's the 7th inning, man. He's already got an out, so he's only 8 outs away from fucking getting a no-hitter and then winning the game. They're up like 4-0, and a guy comes in on the plate, and he's hugging the plate, and the next pitch is up by his ear. It nearly hits him. Strike fucking 3, gets the next 5. I'm going, now that is what I mean. If you look at the analytics, it'll all be, look, Nolan Ryan threw, well, he got 2 walks, but, he went, 2 walks because he threw it at a motherfucker's head. Right?
That's the baseball version of making room.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Yeah. Making room. That's the baseball version of making room. And today they'd say, well, maybe he's losing his control. No, he's doing that on purpose, you donkeys.
Yeah.
So just, you can have your analytics, and I'm not here to bash it. Just go with the human element. I get it. Over the course of a season, obviously, things are going to end up. Look, you're going to run your marathon in 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 7 minutes if you win, because you maintained a pace of, I don't know, what is it, 21 kilometers per hour. But at some point in that marathon, you had to sprint, right?
Yeah.
Different times call for different approaches, and keep the humanity in sports. And I was so happy when I did this book that I showed the human side of scouting. I didn't show a spreadsheet. I showed that these guys and girls are human. They have amazing stories. They come from different places. Like, you may think, well, they're all just ex-players. No, they're not all just ex-players. So for anybody out there hoping to be a hockey scout, give it a read. You'll end up as a hockey scout.
I think fans don't realize how many non-hockey players end up being scouts. I really do. And I hate the argument, because say I'm on here, or say I'm out in public. I was just at an event in Sudbury, and we're sitting down and team draft.
Couldn't make it. Sorry, buddy.
What's that?
I couldn't make it. I was supposed to be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll see you in Macklin, Saskatchewan in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes, you will.
And for those listening, I'll post something real soon about that. But, I'm talking, and we're at the table, and they're all hockey knowledgeable guys and girls that drafted me. The Plan A was the name of the team, co-ed. And a few of them were like, well, Terry played, so clearly he's right in this. I'm like, no. There's all. If we had a table right now of all ex-players, we would all disagree on things. Like, just because I played doesn't. And the same thing when it comes to scouting, it doesn't just make sure. I could definitely have an inside track on certain things, but or tell you internally what might happen in the room to determine leadership but I'm watching the game just like you are. So a lot of people, I don't think, realize that they can get immersed in the game, or at least and the levels of scouting. You can call a local AAA team, right? People need help. The lower you go, a bantam team here would only be happy for you, might not get paid for it, but go out and try it out. And if you're successful, I guarantee you the midget team will give you a try. And then the junior team. And just like anything, you can get up there. And I know a lot of scouts that never put on a pair of skates, but they know the game very well.
Yes, I will say, as a guy who gets paid to talk to ex-players, a lot of analysts and stuff, I will say this. A sports broadcaster, a fan, can be perhaps just as knowledgeable, but I will give you guys the edge because you said it. And I always say this, you know what the inside of the room smells like.
Yeah, it can.
I'll give you guys the edge. And I think one of the big problems with baseball is there's too many people who never played that are in positions of, I guess, really high positions. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think there should be a good mix too.
And there's a difference between being condescending, having a nice debate, and having an argument.
Correct.
Right? A debate's great, smart. And we have that.
And this is another great thing in this, and this is, I keep going back to it, but Brad Davis says, some of the guys who work with Brad Davis and Lauren Davis, they work with the Oilers at the same time. They said the best, there's a lot of stories about fights in the scouts room, right? About, I want this player.
Yeah, I bet it gets heated.
Brad learned it from his dad. Him and his dad were going at it, yelling at a draft. And all of a sudden his dad said, whoa, that's a good point, Brad. And he thought, whoa, this isn't my dad's listening. You should always listen. And I think that gets lost in sports debates. We're just there to prove our point. We're not listening to the other one because maybe the other guy is right.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
I think when you just load your side up with either non-analytics or analytics, let's at least try to listen to each other. Maybe so when my buddy, he works with an OHL team, and he pointed that out. Well, the puck battles, if he wins 85% of it, doesn't that show has some heart. I'm like, it's actually a good point. Now I prefer the old school way, obviously, but there's
And
good
some
points.
guys could be so physically built, like a guy I played with, Vladimir Malakhov. I wouldn't be surprised if he won most of his battles, but I
Right.
think he could win even more if he, I wouldn't
Right.
be. If you showed me that he
Right.
was 55%, I'd say, yeah, sure, he's huge. He's a Greek god. He's 6'4", 230 with no fat whatsoever. But if I give him a bit of this, I guarantee you I have a better chance than, because I just know Vladimir Malakhov the way he played. Nothing to get. This guy was a Norris Trophy possibility. I mean, anybody who played with him
Yeah.
would agree with me. Like, this guy was unbelievable to watch in practice. I couldn't believe the talent and the player that I saw when I was 18, 19, but he never really translated it in. He
Yeah.
just, I think, gave a little bit more on the ice. Who am I to say? But I really
Well,
do believe that. There's all
that's
kinds of players like that. But I know what your buddy's saying, but
that's so yeah, I think you're nailing it too, because is Antoine Roussel supposed to play over 600 games? Is our buddy Alex Gallant supposed to be still chucking him like he did last night in the American League?
fucking right. You see him go. I hope he gets
Nope.
up, man. I hope he gets up.
Beautiful. I said a couple years ago with the Flames, they just didn't have it. I said, call Alex Gallant up for a game. Show him someone
Right.
who cares.
This is the goddamn year. Now, I got a buddy there, Clark Bishop, who's playing in the Calgary Wranglers as well.
Yep.
Clark's a great two-way player. There's an example. Great two-way player. I think he's got 50 or 60 NHL games over like 5 seasons, because he gets a few. He's one of those guys that you call up. He's reliable defensively. He can hit. He's just one of those guys that fits, right? And with any luck, he probably gets into the NHL longer. Alex Gallant, my point here, Calgary look like they're going to be basement dwellers. If they are.
Yep.
For God's sakes, call up a guy that gives everything, still one of the last remaining Cowboys in the game. Call him up. You're in Calgary. You're in a literal Western Hockey League city that they love it and they want to see it. I hope he gets up, and I hope he gets up for a while.
I would love to see it. Just not for Alex, obviously, but just to show the other guys what it looks like to give a shit night in and night out, and just how lucky you are to be in this league. And I'm sure a lot of them see that. But I know Bieksa pointed out a spot the other night. I want to say it was Sharon Govich when he wasn't skating back in the 6-1 loss to Vegas, and he just kind of went up and glided into a guy. I'm like, the reason people loved Wendell Clark, this is my theory. The reason Wendell was so beloved, Wendell showed people, like when people saw the way Wendell played, they think, if I had a shot, that's how I'd play, because he just gave a shit every night.
You mentioned earlier in this podcast, between friends or someone you're scouting, a big word is trust. Everybody in Leafs Nation, I don't know if you could trust a player any more than Wendell Clark to go out there and give everything he had. I don't ever remember one player, media, fan, anybody ever saying anything less than Wendell Clark gives it his all every time. And I think that's why. Because he's beloved, because he's Wendell Clark, and he could really play, and he could fight, and he could score. But in order to do those things, he maximized his potential because he just gave it everything every single shift. And anybody can do that. Anybody doesn't have the shot he has.
Yeah.
They can't back check. They can't hit like that. But anybody, what you see is the thing that everybody can do. The most identifiable trait is hard work. And we can see that, Wendell, like Darcy Tucker, we can see that. We can identify with it. Not everybody can go in and make a move and go fucking toe drag upstairs, but everybody can work hard,
Yeah, well, like Colby Armstrong says, enough of the TikTok hockey. I mean, drive to the goddamn net. And guess what it takes to drive to the net? It takes an intangible that you cannot identify. It takes a scout watching a guy 5-6 times, maybe more, to go, wow, that guy just didn't do that in the big game. He did that in every game. And wow, that guy just didn't do that against the weak 6th, 7th D. He did that against their big 6'4", 230-pounder. He's still driving to that net.
Like, if I'm a scout, the analytic, if you drive to the net, puck comes in, you might tip it, it might go on the net. The analytic will say zone time, and it will say shot on net with the tip. But at that, if you're a scout, at that decision that you see the player sprint to the net, knowing that the net is going to be, you're going to get stuck. That's the scoutable moment. Not with the guy waiting. You're going to get the same analytic out of it. But that when you see that decision being made coming over the blue line, it's like a 3-on-2, and this guy's going to go, fuck it, I'm going to be the guy to go straight to the net. And it's the third time the period that he's done it, and chaos ensues. You're like, okay, that guy got it. The analytics are just going to say, oh, he picked it up from this speed to this speed in the zone. The pass was made. The shot happened, right?
And I love that, a scout will show up to see this one guy, and then all of a sudden another guy steals his or her mind. And then you go, I got to watch this guy again. You watch him again and he does it again. And you watch him again and he does it again. And you discover that guy, that numbers won't show you what he does. Numbers do not tell the story. And I'm talking goals, assists, points. That doesn't tell the story all the time.
No, it doesn't. A guy like Connor Brown. I don't know if you were to watch the Oilers last year when he was snake bit. I had to watch all the games because I work on the Jason Gregor show. But I used to go, fuck, like, you can look at the paper and I'm going like, technically, analytically, this guy's all right. He's not doing terribly. But I can watch the players respond when he's out there and he kills a penalty and he hits somebody. He's going like a bat out of hell, like a jackrabbit on skates. I'm like, that says something. It says something. It has to, or he wouldn't be. He goes in droughts sometimes 20 games without a point. Why does he keep signing? Why? Because he's Connor Brown and he works his nuts off and he's a great teammate.
And that's it. That's what I love about this. And like you said, when people, I don't want to sound condescending, but when people know the game, they know the game. And the people I talk to in this book know the game. They see things that we're not looking for. And I wanted to know what those things were. And I wanted to know, who are you as well? And I think the combination of that makes for a pretty good read, makes for some pretty good stories. And it's just, it was fun to do. And it's nice to shine a spotlight on people that don't get the love. Terry, you work in film. You used to do location scouting. You got no love for location scouting, but now that you're Ted Hitchcock, everybody wants to talk to you, right? I'm sure you were working just as hard, maybe even harder when you're a location scout. So these guys are the location scouts of hockey. They're the backbone of the whole game. So it was nice to shine a light on them.
Ken Reid, that is a beautiful way to sum it up. Do you have anything else to promo or anything before we go?
No, man, just enjoying this Jays run. Excited that hockey started. It's funny how quickly a theme or a story will develop to start the season. So the Leafs, now you have, they're soft again. The Habs, you got, they're electric again with, man, I love their skill. I just love the way stories evolve throughout the season. But no, nothing else to plug. Just if you can. And my books, Terry. In the book business, a lot of the people who sell the books call them uncle books because they say people always buy your books for their uncle. They're just good stories. So buy it for your uncle, buy it for yourself. And TR, as per usual, I'm not a big deal, buddy. I'm not cool enough for hardcover. Look at that. You can bend it right into a stocking or even into a mailbox.
Hey, it's a perfect Christmas gift, man. Perfect price, perfect Christmas gift. I love it.
Thanks, buddy. And say hi to Senior and Gail, as per usual, and tell Penny Lane to keep charging them goalies.
I certainly will. She's got keep charging. Hey, keep playing with passion anyway is another way to phrase it. Diplomatic. Okay, buddy. It was great to talk to you again. And for those in Saskatchewan or Alberta, Macklin is close to the border, if not right on the border, if I remember correctly. I personally will be in Grand Prairie the 29th and 30th with Joe Dolo playing a benefit game. And then right after that, I think it's
Dolo.
Oh, yeah. Dolo's coming. And I'm going to rent a car and meet you.
Okay.
Grand Prairie. I'm going to Macklin, Saskatchewan. We're raising some money. We're going to have a live Q&A. It's going to be a lot of fun for those listening. And after that, of course, we got some Shoresy tour coming up. Can't wait. Shoresy Fall Classic. Pay attention to my Instagram, Terry Ryan 2020 for stories. Ken Reid is Ken Reid at Sportsnet Ken Reid.
On Twitter, at SN Ken Reid. On Instagram, at Sportsnet Ken Reid or at Ken Reid?
I believe it's Sportsnet Ken Reid.
Yeah, Sportsnet Ken Reid. You know better than I do. And the book's available on Amazon and wherever you buy books. Support your local bookstore if you can, by the way. I love local bookstores.
There you have it. Ken Killer Reid. Thanks again, buddy.
You're a saint or you ain't.
There you have it, folks. Killer Ken Reid of Sportsnet, one of my best friends in the world. We go back a ways. And this guy is... I never really stressed how great of a writer. If you like the game of hockey, of course, if you like sports, if you just like folklore, if you like anecdotes, these are for everybody, I'm telling you. All kinds of Shoresy fans don't play hockey, have never even been to a hockey game. They just like the stories and they like the situations, and it's a metaphor for a lot of things that happen in regular life. This is pretty much Not every single Ken Reid book, because some are biographies, Dennis Marouk, Eddie Shack, for example, but most are great, and which are filled with good anecdotes. It's just kind of on one subject the whole time, or one player, one person. Most involve different places, different characters, different events, but all of the same ilk. So I'm really looking forward to this book. It's called The Next One. And I'll tell you, if you are the next one in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, you want to check out George Street, why would you not check out Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, Greensleeves, and of course the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, why not do it at Loose Tide, Blue on Water, of course, Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. Strength and balance for the body and mind. If that's your goal, if that's what you want, look no further than Ryan Power Conditioning on Rope Walk Lane. There are 2 locations of Mr. Lube right here, St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. One is on Camelot Road, one is on Torbay Road. Live, laugh, and lube. Crown Cabinets, just because. Check out Crown Cabinets. Creative Closets and Doors. Great spaces, smart choices. Check out Creative Closets and Doors. True Hockey, take what's yours. GS Construction, if you're in Edmonton, GS Construction lays the groundwork for your community. GS Construction, check it out. Now, True Hockey. Oh, I already said that. Take what's yours. What am I forgetting? Oh, Muggsy Jeans. I loves me Muggsy Jeans. I'll be back in just a couple of days with more Tales with TR. Thank you to Ken Reid, and thank you all for listening.